30 minutes before tip-off, the Utah Jazz found out Rudy Gobert would not go. The Jazz have not been able to defend all year without a center on the floor. Would tonight be any different? No, because Luka is a surgeon. We're talking about it coming up on POSTCAST. David Locke along with Ron Boone. We're here on POSTCAST after the Utah Jazz fall 114-100 to the Dallas Mavericks. The Jazz had 29-21 at the end of one. They really kind of picked apart Luka defensively. They did a lot of really good things, but as the night went on, and I even said it, we opened up the second quarter, the broadcast, Ron, and I said, I think the Jazz can maintain this offensively because Dallas is really not a very good defensive team. I don't know that they can maintain this defensively because he had a 102 defensive rating in the first quarter and no track record that they could do that, and that turned out to be it. Luka really just was surgical after that point of the game.
You're absolutely right, and without Rudy Gobert, is no way that the Jazz could sustain the defensive schemes that they were putting together because Rudy wasn't there. I mean, eventually it gets figured out, and they start taking advantage of situations that the Jazz have out there on the floor there as well. But, offensively, I thought they faded there in the second half there as well, strictly because the defense was fading too, I think.
And I think they wore out. There was a moment in the game in which they kind of had a pretty significant mental lapse out of frustration. Donovan threw a pass over Paschall that he cut in a place where he wouldn't, and that's a case where, you're just not playing with your normal guys. I don't remember who it was we played earlier this year. It might have been Luka or somewhere where you talked to one of their coaches and they have guys set in certain spots for passes at all times. Or maybe it was Giannis in Milwaukee, and it was Marcus Johnson that talked to you about that. And so the Jazz basically have a similar system, yet they weren't there. And then they kind of were discombobulated, didn't get back off an inbound pass for an easy layup. And you just saw them kind of wear out at certain points in this. It's a hard task to try to go against a Dallas team that's 19-4 at home. Won 19 of the last 4 at home. They're 9-4 in the month. They're very good when Dinwiddie plays. I think they're 12-4 this year when Dinwiddie plays. Without your guys, and I think this game went as we expected. I don't think there's a huge oh my gosh, it's 4 in a row. This one was one that, with the injuries and being this shorthanded against a Dallas team at home while you're on the road, seems pretty unlikely.
Well, one thing that I thought the Jazz needed to do was they needed to get up a lot of threes. And I think I said that before the ball game, that this would be one of those ball games where I wouldn't be upset with 53-point shots or maybe 45, but I knew they needed to get up a lot of threes in this ball game. You told me they had 19 at the half. They ended up with 34 to the point where their defense start taking some of those 3-point shots away from the Jazz, and they were unable to get it done. So
it felt as though the Jazz kind of came at Dallas with some things, and then Dallas just reacted.
Yeah.
They kind of figured out where the weaknesses were, made their adjustments. Luka particularly kind of figured out what the Jazz were doing with him, and then just started slicing apart. And then, hey, Reggie Bullock comes into this game. I mean, he feels like this is inevitable. He's 8 of 33 on corner threes, 24%. He's 7 of his last 28 on above the break threes. So this guy has hit 15 of his last 51 from 3, and he goes bananas tonight. Now career, 7 of 11. He is a good shooter, and some of those were crazy deep as the trailer and the pick and roll on the fast break. I mean, the confidence you have to take that when you're in that kind of slump is something crazy.
I think what's looking at this, he took 12 shots, 11 of them was 3-pointers. That kind of looks like Royce ONeale's line sometime, where Royce might take 6 or 7 shots and maybe 6 of them are 3-point shots. And so he just hung in that right corner. He had a great night shooting from that right corner, knocking down those threes. And at first half, he ended up 4-3 in that second quarter. And I think most of them was coming from that right corner. Well, he had one walk-up three in transition, but most of them came from the right corner.
Andy has 2 questions. One, he wants to know whether or not we're being extra careful with Bogey. I mean, Bogey's not healthy. If Bogey could play, Bogey would play because he's Bogey. And so the fact that Bogey, the 2 games before, Bogey missed the game because of a contusion on the leg. And I remember I went to our trainer, Eric Waters, and I said, what's wrong? Like, how serious is this? What's wrong? He's like, wow, relax. And I was like, no, if Bogey misses game, it's got to be like, I was like, all freaking out. And then he played, and then he gets hurt in the next game. And I actually think that, to me, that, jumps out. Like, the fact that Bogey has missed a game at all is really disturbing because he doesn't miss games. So, yes, he's really hurt. He would play, and we've watched him try to work his way back here, but it's not – I don't expect, tomorrow we're seeing him or anything like that. The second question that was brought up by Andy was Mike Conley getting switched on Luka Doncic is going to be a playoff problem, and I don't think we have a solution. And the only solution is that Rudy Gobert has to stay near the rim, but then Lukas shooting in the mid range, really unencumbered. Mike's just too small to handle that.
No, absolutely. We saw it tonight, and there were some possessions where Conley ended up starting defending Luka, which is played right into the hands of what the Mavericks wanted to do. But it's will it be a problem going in the playoffs when everyone's healthy? I think the Jazz can make some adjustments there, and maybe, but they'll always be able to put whoever they want in the pick and roll, and that's one of the things that has benefited the NBA for the most part, because everyone seeks out certain players and then try to take advantage of it.
A lot of people asked about Donovan and the ankle. Donovan went down, banged the floor multiple times, face down, legs writhing in pain in the backwards. And he then walked it off and ended up playing shortly thereafter. He was not particularly impactful after that. We didn't take him see any long shots. They were doubling him and doing some things of that nature as well. And then they didn't play him as much as usual, though he played 32. So he's at the podium right now as we speak, and I can't hear that, so I don't know the answer to whether or not that is. If you're live with us and go to 1280 The Zone, you'll probably hear it shortly. But I think we'll see. The track record on this one is actually that Donovan does come back and play, but then often misses the next game or two after that.
Yeah.
Has kind of been the recent track record on that. So we'll be interesting to see whether he plays in our game on Tuesday or Wednesday night, though it is a national television game, Tuesday night in Los Angeles on that. Jazz 10 free throws tonight, Dallas 24. Has been pointed out. I don't know that I thought it was that bad a whistle. We're pretty far away to know. We don't have a lot of guys. Once Donovan's not attacking, we don't really have many other guys who go to the free throw line. Mike actually had 5 free throws. That's probably close to his season high. And he only went 2 of 5 at the line tonight. So a little surprised to see that. Mike did nice thing tonight. It was only 8 turnovers by the Jazz. So they took care of the ball where they were actually having to move it a lot because they didn't have Rudy.
Yeah, and I think they only had 2 turnovers at the half there as well. So that's a plus if you want to call it that, because basketball over lots of time gets you in trouble. Didn't go to the free throw line either. Only 10 free throws a ball game. They fouled a lot, and Rudy and obviously Luka has a lot to do with that. Luka ended up with 9 free throws in the ball game, but. Other than that, David, I think once we got the word that Rudy was going to be out, we knew it was going to be a tough call for the Jazz to try to win this ball game.
Yeah, chat room's reacting pretty adversely tonight. I understand 4 losses in a row is not great. You were missing, the defensive player of the year, another starter and 2 rotation players, and 2 players at the same position against a team that's super good. So seems a little bit difficult to have some of that reaction on things. And, there's 2 things I would say. I'm a big believer in the rightful order of the basketball universe. And what I mean by the rightful order of basketball universe is that everyone has a role, right? And when this team is just right, Donovan's your primary bogey, and then Conley plays off them, and Rudy's rolling, and everything's got, and Royce is then nice because he's your 5th option who doesn't shoot a lot. It all fits. When you suddenly have pieces out of that, and I've used the piece of glass crystal analogy this year. When there's pieces missing, our rightful basketball universe was way off tonight. And it has been for a little while. Like, we don't have a third scorer. Juancho Hernangomez is probably our 3rd scorer tonight. That's not, he wasn't on the roster 3 weeks ago. Clarkson, then when he comes in so this is just not a team that understand each other. We saw it a bunch with Paschall cutting and passes going. You're not in this game.
So your universe.
Yeah, rightful order of the basketball universe. Yeah.
It just means that Donovan's normal 20 shots a ball game, Conley's normal 13, Boyan's normal about 13, 14, and Conley's, Clarkson. So that's your universe.
Yeah, you have to have a rightful order of the basketball. Everyone knows their role. Good news now, Rudy Gay played really well. Rudy Gay played better than he has in a long time, and he is a piece that we certainly need. So hopefully that's a good sign to come for Rudy Gay, as he had 19 points or 18 points tonight to lead the Jazz. We were actually +7 when Rudy is on the floor, and he's been negative in about 16 of his last 19 games. So that's good. All right, that wraps us up. Have a nice one. That is Postcast. I'll do something from LA tomorrow for you on Locke and Ron Jazz. Have a good one.